the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford. Go further. By the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. By VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you and your corrective vision needs, visit VSP.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you achieve your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project. Serving those who've sacrificed for over 15 years. Online at woundedwarriorproject.org. By WD-40 Company. Wherever there's a job to be done, WD-40 brand offers solutions to help you live life hands-on. By Farmers Insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com. And by Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape, for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Hey, this is the National Defense. It's Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, as always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving in our military. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
Man, we got a cool story for you today. This is great. Love having Ford as a partner on the program, and they're always doing something kind of neat.
Well, this is unique, that's for sure.
Jennifer Prescott is with us. She's a supervisor in vehicle harmony. It's just a great job. It's got to be a great job, right, Jennifer?
It's a fantastic job, and vehicle harmony is just obscure enough that folks don't really know what we do, so we can pick and choose a lot of our projects.
Yeah, right. I had a quick image of incense burning and people chanting.
Right.
No, we're all mechanical and electrical engineers. Sorry to disappoint you.
So there's not much fun going on. Is that right?
No, my brother was an electrical engineer. And
yeah.
We have tons of fun, actually.
Yeah. I used to fall asleep when he'd talk to me.
Yeah. Well,
we're in that sweet spot, though. So my group is at vehicle level, and we deal with new features. So we get to do fun projects like this, but then we also have what we think is fun, digging down into the details to figure out how it works. So It's all good. We're happy.
And this is all kind of based around this new vehicle that Ford is bringing out, the Aviator, right?
Yes, the Lincoln Aviator. It's a new SUV that will be revealed at the LA Auto Show in 3 weeks, and we're very excited about it. It's going to be a very nice vehicle.
So we get to talk about it ahead of everyone else. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, you've got a scoop.
Can you tell us a little bit about the vehicle itself?
Well, I'm not supposed to reveal too much.
Okay.
Other than I'll say it is an Aviator. It is a SUV, and the full reveal will happen in 3 weeks, but it's beautiful. It's part of Lincoln's strategy of quiet flight and luxury and having a personal sanctuary. And so they're allowing us to go and talk about this DSO project ahead of time just as a teaser, if you will, of what's coming.
Jennifer, tell us about this and what the partnership was like with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra.
Well, it was fantastic, and it was really kind of an opportunistic project where we were designing all new radios for the 2020 model year, and this Aviator was the lead Lincoln. And so we said, as long as we're making a lot of changes, what else should we do that's new and fresh? And part of my group's responsibility is the chimes and notifications, which we all know can be annoying. I think.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing it for a reason. We want to communicate with you, want to give you information, keep you safe. But when you think about, especially on these Lincolns, where we bring on more and more options, that's more and more things dinging at you and trying to get your attention.
Right.
So we said, what can we do that's completely different? We ought to have more pleasant, luxury-sounding chimes. It should be a sanctuary because we spend a lot of time in our cars. So while I'm driving along, I should feel like, okay, this is a pleasant experience. This is something I want to hear. And actually, my boss and I were sitting around, and Jamie Forbes is his name, and Jamie's like, what if you could do something like have the Symphony record them for you? And I said, I don't know how I would do that. So again, think about it, engineer here in the auto industry.
Right.
So I went to their, contact us page, which is really where you go to get tickets. but it was an email address. So I just wrote up a thing and said, hey, we'd really love to try this project. Are you at all interested? Sent it. I didn't think they'd respond, but they did. So we took a Lincoln Continental down to Orchestra Hall because we had just launched that product and said, here's what we're thinking. Okay, it's going to be an SUV. It's not this car.
Yeah.
It's the next generation. And listen to the chimes that go off, you know, when you've left your lights on or you haven't buckled your seatbelt. What if you could design this to sound exactly the way you want it to? And the musicians that sat in it went, oh, I get it. Went back into Orchestra Hall, and I walked out of there 3 hours later with 126 choices.
Oh, man.
I blew away all expectations.
Oh, man. And so, and to be specific, it's a combination, kind of a blend of percussion, violin, and viola.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yep. And we started with, we did a lot of listening studies, and we did clinics. We had people listen to them and put them into context. You know, this is what the vehicle's doing. This is what it sounds like. And we settled on a tune that was just marimba, that was put together by the marimba player, and went back to the orchestra and said, here's the basis of the soundscape for Aviator. Now, please design this whole suite of chimes. And, of course, we tell them what each chime stands for.
Right.
To fill that out so it's all one piece of music. And that's when we took the marimba piece, added violin and viola, and then expanded the whole thing out. So I'm just thrilled to death on how it all turned out.
That's got to be pretty cool for these musicians when this thing comes out. You know, and you're driving down the road and you hear the lights are on. You hear your sound that you produced.
That's our claim to fame right there. Yeah.
Right.
One of many.
Yeah.
By the way, DSO is great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're world class. But what's funny about it, and I didn't know what their reaction would be. I didn't think of it ahead of time because I don't normally work in their world. But normally people come in and say, "Play this."
Right.
Whereas I showed up and said, "I don't really know what I want, so do what you want." And they kind of, improvised and played off each other. And so they've all said it was a fun project for that reason.
Now, the term chimes, that can be, somewhat misleading. I'm just curious that if you're violating some sort of safety deal in your new vehicle, do you get any sort of dramatic pop?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the chimes we designed do have different urgency levels, but what we did is we went in and changed the informational chimes, the ones that say, look at your cluster, your instrument cluster. There's going to be more information coming. Things that are in the moment and intuitive, I didn't mess with. Uh-huh. So, like when you're backing up, you get that beep, 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 beep. Yeah, that's the same. Cross traffic alert doesn't change. Forward collision warning doesn't change. We don't want to mess with any of those,
right?
Because you know what that sounds like already. And truly, the only risk here is if you look at any OEM, really, we tend to do the same chimes in every vehicle. You can tell watching a movie what car they're in when they open the door because they tend to leave the engine running and you hear the chime. So the thought here was we take those basic information chimes that you hear most of the time, let's elevate them, give them a new sound, and propagate that throughout Lincoln. So that will be the new Lincoln DNA.
Wow.
So Lincoln, the Lincoln Aviator will be the only vehicle that has this specific and particular set of sounds.
For now, yes.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
And so when you were experimenting with this or working with the orchestra, did they go crazy about this? Did they? I mean, I know you came out of there with 125, but what did they produce 5,000 sounds, or how did you narrow that down?
Well, we started with the 126, and my team sat and said, okay, what makes sense? Because it has to be appropriate for the type of information the car is trying to tell you. Because it really is a two-way conversation between you and your car. We're trying to be as clear as we can in communication without over stimulating you.
Yeah.
So we narrowed it down to about 20, and we did an internal clinic where we put headphones on folks and describe different scenarios and let them kind of do word pairs. This sounds modern versus classic, or and just sort them out and which ones do you prefer. Got it down to 10. went out and did another study, and that's where we got down to 4 that were preferable. 2 were clear winners. One of them was very traditional. It was very much sticking with our kind of bum-bum-bum kind of sounds where it's really just tones. And this other one where we were really going more musically was a left turn. We weren't, do we go very different or do we stay conservative? And I still remember sitting in a meeting with Lincoln management, and we all kind of shrugged and said, well, why wouldn't we just go big or go home?
So were there any specific composers that were favored?
No.
Okay.
Well, we actually, for this project, we didn't talk about any composers or anything that had come before.
Uh-huh.
It was more of...
Just made it up.
Make it up, be creative, think about, if you're driving along, of all the people on the planet that are probably most annoyed by the chimes in our vehicles, I have to believe it's professional musicians. So,
yeah, right.
That's
Good
probably
point.
true, yeah.
So I said, design it for yourself. This is your next car.
Huh.
I hope you're not expecting me to deliver them cars, though. But
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be, yeah, that's what I would think. Now, hey, I made up the music. I need a car.
A little bit of Inagata-Davida.
Yeah, that's right. Ozzy Osbourne when you open the door. So now, Jennifer, can people hear I think there's a place that people can go to hear this new sound, right?
yes, it will be on the Lincoln homepage. And
That's cool.
it'll be in all the release materials as well for the Aviator, which is coming out in 3 weeks.
Man, the Aviator,
Okay,
a new model.
So,
New nameplate.
Yeah.
certainly you're going to be doing a lot of advertising relating to the vehicle. Are any of the chimes incorporated into the ads?
There's a YouTube video that is out, but as far as other kinds of advertising, I don't know, and they probably wouldn't even tell me because, like I said, I'm engineering.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jennifer, this is cool stuff. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on today, and we will be listening for the new model coming out later this month, 3 weeks.
Yes, it'll be revealed in 3 weeks. Thank you so much. This was
Aviator.
fun.
Thank you,
Take
Jennifer.
care.
We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller. Time now for another Morgan Stanley Money Brief. This is good stuff. We're here again this week with Morgan Stanley financial advisors Ryan Chernock and Mike Fennerin. Welcome back to the show, guys. Last week, we continued discussing how to achieve our financial goals by including retirement planning. Talked about choices through your employer and individually. Can we dig a little deeper into those choices for an individual?
Hey, Randy. Good to be back. We would love to answer these questions and help your listeners with a better understanding of retirement planning.
So, Ryan, remind our audiences of the choices that exist for an individual's retirement account.
Your current listeners, depending on age, can create a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA for themselves. There are some restrictions on these accounts which can limit the tax deductibility of contributions based on an individual's modified adjusted gross income, federal income tax return filing status, and whether he or she or his or her spouse also participates in an employer-sponsored plan. We're going to delve deeper into an employer plan on the next call. Your listeners should consult with their tax professional in regards to the tax deductibility of contributions to a traditional IRA.
Okay, now I've heard about the existence of these two choices, but I'd like to find out more. Mike, why don't you talk about a traditional IRA first?
Would sure like to. Thank you. The traditional IRA allows annual contribution of up to $5,500 for 2018 or $6,000 for 2019. The annual contribution limit increases to $6,500 for 2018 or $7,000 for 2019 if you are 50 years old or older. In general, your annual contributions cannot exceed your earned income. Or if you're married and file a joint federal income tax return, the combined earned income of you and your spouse for the tax year. The annual contribution limit applies in the aggregate to all the traditional and Roth IRAs you own. These annual contributions may be income tax deductible. There are limitations to deductibility based on your modified adjusted gross income, filing status, and whether you or your spouse is covered by a retirement plan at work. Please consult with your tax professional to determine what limits apply to you.
All right, so Ryan, let's assume the listeners qualify for a tax-deductible IRA. Explain to us some characteristics of the traditional IRA.
Randy, I'd be happy to offer some ideas. If your contributions to a traditional IRA are tax deductible, then you could lower the taxes you pay in the current tax year. You would also defer any taxes you would pay on the potential growth of that money inside the IRA until you take a distribution. In general, you can take distributions at any age. However, distributions of taxable amounts taken before age 59.5 are subject to a 10% early distribution penalty tax, in addition to ordinary income tax. Additionally, you must begin withdrawing a minimum amount each year once you reach the age of 70.5. These required distributions are referred to as required minimum distributions, RMDs, and are governed by IRS rules. So think about it. A young soldier, airman, sailor, or Marine can defer money into an IRA and attempt to grow it tax-deferred for 10, 20, 30, or for some of our listeners, 40-plus years. When the money is distributed from the account, the owner of the IRA would then pay ordinary income on the distributions.
Well, gentlemen, there's a lot of great information here, and I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, but let's pick it up next week, continue our discussion of retirement planning. We'll be back here next week with a brand new Morgan Stanley Money Brief right here on the National Defense.
To be able to participate in this Military Makeover show gives me an opportunity to not just talk about doing things, but to actually do things and give something back.
'Cause now is the time to get this right. Oh, I think we know what to do.
It's fascinating to me to be able to make something out of nothing that not only I appreciate.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Montel Williams, you know that name?
A little bit.
Yeah. This guy, first of all, Montel Williams has done it all, I think. You know, he's been in every part of entertainment, had his own, of course, the TV show for a long time, and now is doing a show called Military Makeover, which is a great idea.
And, of course, he's got, his own personal ties to the military.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad we're going to have a chance to talk to him about that.
And he was just in Kansas City for Military Makeover. Montel Williams is our guest. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this exciting new show.
Hey, listen, thanks for your service, number one. And
thank you.
We're very excited about the show. For the people that don't understand, I've said military makeover to people before, and they go, "Oh, they take a veteran and they give them new clothes," or But what exactly is it, Montel?
Well, like the premise of the old show that was on called Home Makeover, we're taking really deserving veteran families and making over their homes from the ground up. As a matter of fact, we featured a family right there in the Kansas City area, the Moyer's family, Matthew and Rachel Moyer, and we literally made their home over from the ground up. But not only do we give them that hand up by helping them with their house physically, we basically are giving them a hand up because they then in turn are inspired to reach out and help others. Rachel, Matt's wife, has started an organization, co-founded an organization that's called Caregivers on the Home Fund. We were able to feature her organization in our show, talking about, when we think about our veterans, we think about the individual, and don't remember that there's an entire family behind them.
Absolutely.
Wife, children, mother, father, sister, brother. And all those people, once they come home from the VA hospital, they are the first line of defense for that veteran.
Yeah.
And in Rachel's case, she recognized that, so not because she wasn't acknowledged, but, people who are doing this sometimes don't have, the backup of a community or don't have the backing, and people just kind of forget about them. So she founded an organization where, caregivers can get together, and it's in a 4-state area right there in Kansas City where caregivers can get together and find a sense of togetherness. And not only that, but invigorate their resiliency in taking care of their loved ones. So it was incredible. And in the case of the Moyers family, I mean, when it comes to Matt is a soldier who's deployed, Air Force soldier deployed to Iraq, who suffers from not only physical injuries, from traumatic back injury, shoulder injury, arm injury, but he also suffers from injuries that you don't get to see right up front, you know, like psychological injuries like PTSD, depression, and insomnia. And, you know, I just became, you know, one of the co-hosts on the show, the team leader of our group that gets together and does the physical makeover of the house. But I think I'm bringing a little bit different sense to the show where I sit down and interview family and share, you know, in a way, interpreting for the general public, you know, what a soldier goes through and what they're going through even now, years after we really stopped saying thank you for your service.
Yeah, and how many shows have you done? How long has this show been on, Military Makeover?
Well, the show has been on before me for 2 years. They helped 16 different families, and I helped my first family 2 weeks ago when I was there in Kansas City, and we'll be helping another 3.
So,
and each individual family is really representative of 4 different areas. So there are 4 shows built around each family, and that starts airing next week, November 30th.
Yeah, and we had some people go by, you know, when you did the big reveal to Matthew and his wife, and they said it was unbelievable. I mean, there are cars everywhere. The entire community's out. You've got the American Legion out there. You had Honor Guard. I mean, how cool would that be to see that happening in your community?
And that's, you know, Smithville's a great community.
Smithville's a fantastic community, right outside of Kansas City.
The community, let me tell you something about Smithville. The community stepped up because the community themselves are the people who are doing the hard work. I mean, we have a person who is a designer, and we have a person who's like, you know, the master developer who, you know, outlines what they want to do, but they call upon volunteers in the neighborhood to do the physical work, swinging the hammers, moving the walls, and the people in the community of Smithfield came out. Man, I'm telling you, one of the local high schools, I was so impressed. There was a group of about 20 high school students who stopped by a sod farm and got donated sod to come and put it down, and the kids themselves put that sod down on the yard for the Moyers. So it was incredible, and to see people with big smiles on their face knowing that they were doing something more than just lip service. I was so impressed, and you know that's why I think this is a show that I hope all the listeners will tune into. Because, you know, a lot of times people ask me, well, what should we do for a veteran? You know, I mean, well, it takes more than just say thank you for your service. It takes doing something. I mean, you know, people can volunteer. You don't have to reach in your pocket and take out money, but you could definitely, you know, when you're driving that you know, driving lawnmower on your lawn, you could go 3 blocks down and cut the lawn of a veteran who you know is an amputee. Why not do that? Well, why not go down and volunteer to watch their puppy when he has to go to the VA hospital? Right. There's things that we can do rather than just say, you know, thank you for your service. And for me, in the last 4 or 5 years, it seems that that's just become one of those throwaway sayings that people say when they recognize a veteran or they recognize a soldier. They go, thank you for your service. And then they turn around and walk away. I was in the airport the other day and saw a guy walk by. And, you know, there's 3 people there. They did say, hey, thank you for your service. That was great. But then they didn't even wait to hear the response out of the soldier's mouth. So it takes more than just lip service. It takes us doing something and respecting the fact that though we here in this country are having a hard time dealing with the fact that we are a democratic society, our democratic society is here just because of them.
And you're a guy who certainly has done more than paid lip service through the years. I mean, you've had an outstanding military career, and let's talk about that for a second. And because what you accomplished in the military, I mean, there was a litany of challenges there, and then you faced so many challenges, confronting them head on, and overcome challenges after getting out of the military. But you were an enlisted guy. You were an enlisted, you know, it's a term of endearment, of course, jarhead, a Marine.
Yeah, and I enlisted in the Marine Corps back in 1974 at a time when people used to spit on the ground when I walked by them with my uniform on because it was into the Vietnam era. I'm like Vietnam era vet. I wear national defense for having come in at that time. And I was blessed that I ascended to the rank of corporal in less than a year and a half, and then I entered the Naval Academy.
Well, Montel, let me stop you right there. How does a corporal in the Marine Corps find his way to the Naval Academy?
I was very fortunate that I got meritoriously promoted multiple times. One in boot camp, out of boot camp, 2 more times, and my meritorious promotions. So people looked at me and said, I think you're an officer candidate. You should try to figure out a way to do that. And there was something called the Naval Academy Prep School, so I was able to go to the Naval Academy Prep School for a year. And I went from the Naval Academy Prep School, was able to enter. I entered the prep school with 40 other Marines. Only 19 of us graduated from the prep school. Only 12 of us got accepted into the academy, and only 4 of us graduated from the academy.
Wow. That's amazing. And by doing so, you broke ground there, didn't you?
Yeah, I was the first African-American to actually go through, graduate from the prep school, graduate from the Naval Academy, and then become a naval officer in the history of our country.
Wow.
I had to go back in the Navy, and I'll tell you what was very interesting, because unbeknownst to me at the time, and even unbeknownst to the military, right before graduation in 1980, I suffered a medical incident that ended up 20 years later being diagnosed as MS. But back then, the military couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, so I ended up having to take what was considered a medical deferment, get my commission, and the Marine Corps wouldn't take me back. So I ended up going into the Navy as a naval officer, and I ended up being deep selected or early selected for lieutenant commander. So I made it to E4 and O4 in my 22-year time spent in the service. And when I came out of service, of course, I started the Montel 1 show. And, that show went on the air for 17 years. And, 8 years before I stopped that show, I got diagnosed officially with MS. And, it's been a battle that I think I fought head on the same way I take on a lot of other things. And I fought it head on, and I've been doing pretty well. And, I don't know if you guys know, 6 months ago, not 6 months ago, but 5.5 months ago, on May 30th, I ended up suffering a pretty catastrophic traumatic brain injury, which was a cerebellar hemorrhagic stroke. That, the type of stroke that I had on May 30th normally kills about 50% of the people who had that stroke. And, I survived it and have been busting butt through therapy, and I'm back at about 99.9%. Now back enough that I'm hosting Military Makeover with myself.
I just got to say,
he's a tough guy.
That story doesn't usually end with, and now I'm hosting a national TV show.
Right.
But
here's the thing. Right. Coming back from something that, like you said, catastrophic, but you're still dedicating your life to helping somebody else. That's what you do.
Right.
What are we here for?
Yep.
Amen. Amen, brother.
Yep.
It really is, at the end of the day,
right.
Nobody will care 25 years from now whether I hosted a TV show or not. They won't even be thinking about it. But I think there'll be veterans' families who will remember the fact that I continue to ensure that I use my celebrity to speak out for those who can't speak for themselves.
Yeah, we're talking to Montel Williams. Absolutely, God bless you. And the other thing that I love about this show, Military Makeover, is the fact that, when you do the big reveal and you've got this entire community out there and you've got neighbors and you've got, it's not like it used to be, Jerry, when you knew that two doors down, there was a guy serving, discharged from the Army and he had problems. There's a guy 3 doors down. People don't even know their next door neighbor now.
Right.
So now, you get a TV show, a national TV show that is there with all the lights and everything. All of a sudden, the Moyers family, everybody in Smithville, not to mention Kansas City.
That family becomes so much larger.
Well, and they know that there's somebody there that needs some help, right?
Yep.
And they will help to reverberate that with other families. That's what's so incredible about this. I mean, you look at the Moyer family. Rachel herself, like I said, she started this organization which is called Caregivers on the Home Front. she recognizes, like, you know, so many people don't. When we think about the veteran returning, we only think about that individual. We don't remember or think about the fact that his life or her life impacts the lives of so many others, from wives to husbands, to children, to mothers, to fathers, to cousins. And so Rachel, understanding how tough it was for her, she's got a husband who's dealing with multiple physical injuries from his time in Iraq, but he's also dealing with some of those unseen injuries that you can't put your finger on, from PTSD to insomnia to chronic pain, and those are the kind of things that she is the one that picks up the pieces at 2:00 in the morning. There's no VA hospital there to do that,
right?
And her children are the ones that pick up the pieces at 7:00 in the morning when Dad drops the cereal bowl on the floor in the living room and gets upset with himself because he made a mistake. You know, those are the families that need to be shored up also. So what's so incredible about the show is that not only do we give the veteran and his family a hand up, but we help them understand that they can give a hand up to so many others. So Rachel's organization, Caregivers in the Home Front, now is a 4-state region. They get other caregivers, not only for military veterans, but for first responders, family members, caregivers come together for weekends where they can actually be shored up, give them some hope and make them understand that they're not alone. I mean, that's what the whole idea of community should be all about. That's what we should be trying to do, rather than trying to rip each other apart, tear each other apart over silly little issues that don't matter.
Right.
You know, we should be coming together to try to figure out, you know, at the end of the day, you know, some people may think that this world might be better off, or this country would be better off living under a Russian sickle and moon. No. Thank you, Cheryl. Well, you know, the reason that the show has been on for 2 years, they've already helped 16 families. And, you know, when I came aboard not because they've done anything wrong. They've been great. It's been an incredible show. But I think that I get to maybe do some, you know, my 17 years of interviewing people on the Montel One Show gave me a little bit of a different take on how to communicate and to get stories across. And I'm hoping that, you know, as we dig a little deeper into the family psyche, it'll help people understand that though, you know, 5 years ago, everybody walked around the country saying thank you for your service. That's starting to not roll off people's lips anymore.
Right.
Those people who it does roll off the lips, it's only rolling off as lip service.
Thank you, Montel.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the show, and it's Military Makeover. It's going to be on next week. We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and it's time now for another Eye Insights with VSP Vision. And with us is Army Major and the Dean of the Arizona College of Optometry, Dr. Josh Baker. Dr. Baker, thank you so much for being with us again.
Yes, sir.
So this week we're going to talk about these under-eye bags. You know, and that's what everybody knows about. But what are some of these symptoms?
You know, so under eye bags, you know, sometimes we're talking about just some mild swelling under your eyes, maybe some saggy or loose skin. These are generally signs that are pretty common that we see as we age. As we age, the tissues around our eyes, the muscles that support our eyes and our eyelids, they all become a little more lax, a little more loose. And so you'll see some sagging because of that. Additionally, there's a lot of fat in and around, fat tissue in and around our eyes as well as within our eyes. And as we age, some of that fat can move, we call it prolapse, into different areas of the body, including underneath our eyes. And that'll give it kind of like this a puffy appearance. The good news is it's not a major problem. It's more of a cosmetic issue. None of us really like the way that looks, but it's not going to cause any problems for the patient.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my eye bags. I mean, my eye bags have handles and names, but you're right. A lot of people don't like that. Are there causes of this beyond just aging, though?
Sure. Certain things like a lack of sleep can cause this. Our allergies, so if you have allergies and allergy symptoms, When you have a flare-up, that can cause a little bit more swelling, a little bit more water retention in that area. Smoking certainly exacerbates some of these problems. And sometimes it's just, your genetics. It's a hereditary aspect. So if you look at your parents and your grandparents, and if they have some prominent bags under their eyes, there's a good chance you're going to have prominent bags under your eyes.
Is there any point where you would need to see your doctor about under-eye bags?
Well, I think outside of when it becomes, cosmetically, untenable to you, there's not a whole lot of reasons. If it were to become, significant swelling, discomfort, itchy or red or irritated looking, then I would have somebody take a look, and just to make sure there's nothing else going on that we're just assuming is your typical run-of-the-mill eye bags.
That's some great information and some great coverage that listeners can look forward to coming soon. Can you talk about your exciting news?
VSP is currently a vision carrier for hundreds of thousands through the Federal Dental and Vision Insurance Program, more commonly known as FedVIP. And now, great news for military families and retirees. You'll be able to enroll in vision care coverage during federal benefit open season, which is November 12th through December 10th. Once enrolled, coverage will begin in January 2019. To do this, just visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information.
So all they have to do is visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information. Dr. Baker, thank you so much. We'll be back here next week with a brand new edition of Eye Insights. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back here next week with a brand new edition of the National Defense.